There we go.
It's anticlimactic.
We are back.
Hi guys. Forgotten what you
Long
look
time
like.
no see.
I was going to say something before we went live. Can you remind me to tell you about it later when we finish?
Yeah.
Because I forgot.
Ooh, juicy offline gossip. Yeah.
It's really not. It's just an idea. Anyway, hello, world. Welcome back. We have a bit of a mismatch stream of. It's kind of like a stream of consciousness, quite literally.
Chaos.
In many ways. Yeah.
A stream of consciousness.
A stream
right,
of
Chris
conscious
Mounsey.
chaos.
Can you tell I'm training to be a teacher? All this lingo. Yeah, we don't really have much of a plan other than to kind of catch you up on the books we've read over the summer, and that's kind of it. Some of us have read all of them. Some of us have read some of them. Some of us are still reading one of them. So we'll see how we do. We'll see.
Some of us we're not sure because she's not here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very mismatched conversation.
But you know what? That is literature. You never go into a library and it's not mismatched, you know?
Exactly.
It would be disappointing if it was matched. What's the opposite of mismatched? I don't know if there is a mismatched opposite.
It's matched.
Just matched.
Yeah.
Matched.
This sounds weird.
I love that Zoe's just put it in the group chat to remind Janet of something, and I put it in the private chat for the stream.
You did. I saw it buzz in.
And I'm just going to yell it at the end of it.
But yeah, we're going to start off with. Are we going to start off July's pick briefly? Just
Let's, because I've got it and I paid money for it, so we're going to talk about it.
I've got it on my Kindle. I've got one. Yeah, I've got that one on my Kindle, and the other two. Well, we're not doing the other. I've got it on my Kindle.
We're just going to go for it. See where this takes us.
I paid money for it, but it is now in a charity shop somewhere.
I paid money for it, and I'm going to take it to a free little library.
And it's moved on to someone else who will read it. So
well, not yet. It's currently still on my bookshelf, but
well, it will.
It will.
Yeah. So, book in question is The Woman Next Door, which we read in July, and it was Mariette's pick. I had a very weird moment. I was about to call Marietta because one of my old colleagues from like 2 jobs ago was called Marietta, and I don't know why a name came into my head just now, but I was like, who am I talking about? Which one is it?
You're right,
Yes, I just dropped my book and it nearly landed in my tea, but it's fine. It landed like this.
Oh, okay.
So we're all good. Sorry,
tea and book safe.
Oh, jeez, my heart just stopped.
Great combo, just not together like that. Yeah, so Women Next Door was what we read in July, or attempted to read in July. I feel like this is where the wheels started to fall off a little bit. For me personally, I feel like some others as well in terms of reading. But we've kind of decided that, Mariette's not here, we're just gonna give a brief outline of our ideas, kind of what we thought. This was one which some people have DNF'd, some people have finished, some people read bits of, so it was quite, yeah.
Should we do our normal, go around and do, I gave it this is what I thought?
Yeah, God, I can't remember what I rated it, I think.
Yeah, no, we always do this.
I was going to say, I don't mind starting.
Okay.
I DNF'd it after a chapter. I started reading this, for those of you who've seen the reel, like the day I went up to London to see the Heartstopper set in Piccadilly. That's when I started reading it, and I immediately switched track and went to husband material. That's how quick my turnaround was. I read one chapter and was like, okay, this is kind of intriguing. Okay. And then I read the last page of the chapter and was like, I have no interest in continuing this. This woman is horrible. All these women are horrible. Everybody's racist. I can't deal with this negativity at the moment. Give me some queers in love. I'm good. So I DNF'd it. I didn't really know what this book was going to be about. I really went into it thinking it was going to be enemies to I know it's enemies to friends, but I really went into it thinking it would be different to how it was, and yeah, it just wasn't something that really ticked all my boxes. So I DNF'd it, and I've been struggling with my reading anyway since having COVID. Like my attention span is not what it used to be. and I really, really struggle with reading. And because there was no audiobook, I couldn't push through.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I really struggled. That's mainly why I DNF'd it. There was no audiobook. But yeah, it's going to make its way to either Vinted or a charity shop. So if anyone wants a pristine copy, hit me up. So yeah,
Love that.
that's my thought.
I think that's fair though. It's quite interesting for us to have books on the stream that we didn't in the club that we didn't finish. You know, we can't always love them all the time.
It's only the second book I've ever DNF'd as well since joining Goodreads.
What was the first one?
Bunny by Mona Awad.
Oh yeah, I remember you reading that.
I don't count Strike by Robert Galbraith. I don't count that because I barely got anything into it. So I don't count that as really.
I do recommend another book by Mona Awad, All's Well. Read that one.
Okay. Anyway, who wants to go next?
I've got it up.
Let's go clockwise. So,
is that clockwise? Yes. I don't remember because it was so long ago. But I said 3 stars, maybe 3.5. I'm not sure, though I enjoyed the snappy, witty, and somewhat savage nature of the 2 protagonists, Hortensia in particular. I thought she was banterous. I fear the book will end up being one I seldom think about. An easy read, though, and nicely constructed atmosphere with characters that remind me of cantankerous, rude, yet wholly lovable old folk. That was my response. That was my review. I think I think I hypothesized my future well. I have forgotten about it. It was fine. I think I really enjoyed Hortensia's just annoying rudeness. I thought she was so funny, and I think when I was trying to think of the word cantankerous, can't take credit for it. My dad gave me that word. I was trying to, when you go to if you ever go to an old folks home or you visit someone and you meet those old folk that are so rude but they are so funny, they're just like, they're so savage and you're just trying not to laugh when you're talking to them. That is what Hortensia reminded me of, because I just loved her because she was so rude and sassy. I was like, you're making me die. So she was probably my leading light in the book. I didn't really find the plot necessary. I was a bit like, what is the point of this story? I don't really get it. So that's probably the reason, I think. And especially like for someone like Jess, for example, you like a fantasy, fast paced, like all this magical kind of stuff happening. This is just so it's just not your thing. And
it's lit-fic.
Yeah, and like for me, that's why I probably got on with it, because I can read this genre and I really enjoy it. So I mean, it wasn't the best book I've ever read by a long shot, and I was pretty like bored reading it. When I say I didn't enjoy it, I don't mean I didn't enjoy it. Just like I just didn't like it. It wasn't a book for me. I just felt like I was reading it because I had to read it. And I quite enjoyed Hortensia, but the story itself was a bit kind of, it opened up with this plot that was going to be really important, and then that kind of just tinkered off, and then we kind of wrapped it up at the end just to make sure we brought that plot back in. So that's kind of why I only gave it 3 stars. So I was just a bit like, it was fine. Hortensia was my favorite. I don't enjoy racism in any form, so it's never nice reading about it. But so yeah, Hortensia was probably my saving grace in it, but I can fully understand why it was a DNF for so many. Next.
My go.
Yeah.
Yay! I DNF'd it. I got about 5 chapters in, and it triggered one of the worst reading slumps I've ever had, which I'm still feeling the effects of to this day. I was just like, I had no drive to pick it up, no want to pick it up, but part of me was like, but I need to continue reading it because I've never DNF'd a book club book, and I was just like, I can't. I had no love for it, no not even any real enjoyment. Some Hortensia stuff, I was like, oh, I'm enjoying her a little bit, but then I had to spend an entire long ass chapter with the other lady. I'm like, I'm not enjoying her at all. So, and then my mum said, well, something I do is sometimes I read the last chapter, and if it brings a spark, I go back and read the rest of the book because I want to know how it got there. When I read the last chapters, I was like, I want to know how he got here, but I don't really care. It's like, how did we get here? Unless like one of you was like completely saved the other one's life from something or whatever, or like you found that you have like some deep personal connection, but no, they were still arguing, but apparently they're friends. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Mm.
And also like the sort of racist elements from I can't remember her name now.
Marion.
I want to say Marion.
Yeah, Marion.
Yeah.
I was going to say like Agnes, but I think that's another character.
The racism coming from Marion, and sort of also the hostility from Hortensia as well. I was like, I don't want to be having to sit with this for most of a book.
Mm.
Because like,
yeah, it's fair enough.
Like I like myself a good flawed individual, a good character that wavers on the darker side of things. But not when they're dull and just boring and their main thing is anger and racism. That's just not for me.
Yeah, I think for me, it was an interesting one because it definitely, there was a lot that I, in theory, should have loved about it. I thought I gave it 3 stars. I actually gave it 2.5, which maybe was a bit harsh, but I think part of it was because I didn't really like find myself wanting to pick it up. And that's why it took me so long to finish it, because there were other things I wanted to read instead and so on. For those who don't know, I was born in South Africa. I visit Cape Town. I used to visit quite often over summer holidays, so I know like the area that it's set, and I know quite a lot. I mean, I guess a lot of people know about the history, but I think for me there was kind of like some personal connection almost. So I was going in with relatively high expectations. I've done that before with books, and it doesn't always go well. Say again?
It's your genre as well. It's lit fic.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, being set in Cape Town, someone I know very well, and like, you know, my mum grew up in South Africa during the apartheid. She's told me a lot. I mean, obviously she's white, and it was very different for her than like other South Africans who really like suffered. But you know, she's told me like her experiences and what she witnessed and so on. So yeah, for me, the I Hate Happy Books nickname on the group chat really does come into play, because I feel like that kind of history I want to read about in fiction, because I want to learn more about the context in that sort of way. Obviously this is kind of set more like modern art, like post-apartheid era, although it does kind of link back to certain aspects of that time, which we see in Marion, which I think I totally agree with the sort of racism side of things, but I think it really is very, like, her character is someone who doesn't see the wrong in saying certain things. And I think that's the point, is that she needs to be like that to kind of realize, oh, well, maybe the point is that some people just are stuck in their ways of thinking and so on. I don't know, but that's just my interpretation. So I didn't like her as a character. I don't think you're supposed to, but I think that was like the reason why the author chose her to be so horrible. But what I actually quite liked Hortensia. I thought she was annoying, but I enjoyed her chapters more. And I enjoyed her backstory a lot as well. I really liked knowing more about her history and where she came from, and like her family and how she met her husband and why they don't really love
that was
each other.
good, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I remember all that now.
Yeah, and like I could have just read all of that, whereas Marion's side of things, although there were some parts, you know, which were quite interesting, it was kind of almost overshadowed by Hortensia's backstory for me.
Yes.
But yeah, I think maybe I was being a bit harsh on my ratings, giving it 2.5, but like I've given the way I thought of it was I gave other books 3 stars, and this one didn't quite live up to that, so I just kind of bumped it down a little bit. But yeah, I do wonder, like, maybe in the future, if I came back to it, maybe it's like sort of wrong book, wrong time situation. Maybe I'll enjoy it in the future. Maybe I don't know, maybe not. But yeah, I think it had a lot of potential, and I think I was slightly disappointed because, like, I think a lot of you, it didn't quite go the way I was expecting it to, and it felt like not very much really happened in some ways. Like, you know, other than the backstory, I feel like that's where most of the action kind of takes place, so like at certain points, but then linking those points together just took so long and it's quite slow actually. So yeah, that was kind of my general thoughts on it. But
what I would have liked from the book is it being more of like an unnerving sort of thriller style set in this suburb with the sort of veneer gloss of like, is there something going on, or are these people just wildly racist? So, and like having all of these things, or is this elderly woman now suffering from some sort of mental deterioration due to her age? Like having, that's what I was expecting when I went into it, and that was what I was hoping for, and that wasn't what I got.
I'm not gonna lie, I read the synopsis and was like, enemies to lovers? No, get your mind out the gutter.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
That's where my mind went as well. It was like, elderly lesbians, yay!
And I was just like, yes! And then, oh no, it's not gonna be that, is it? I'll settle for enemies to friends and with banter, but I was just like, I really don't care about either of these people. From this one meeting, I was like, I really have no incentive to want to pick this up. And from what you guys are saying, like about the plot and it doesn't really go anywhere, I'm kind of glad that I DNF'd it, because this is my gripe with things like Lord of the Flies.
I love that book.
It's beautifully written, it's beautifully cinematic in its writing, and the characters are really interesting, but the plot goes nowhere until the end, and I'm just like, that's the only bit I care about, is that's all I care about.
If you want yourself a good version of Lord of the Flies, read the play script. It's 10 times faster, and it's just like, I watched when I was at college, it was there was 2 plays that we could do in our first year. I was in the other one, so I got to watch them do Lord of the Flies, and it was like the set they had was really cool, and the acting, it was like, it was so visceral.
And it's again the history behind that, and William Golding's writing process really intrigues me, but the actual book doesn't. And like with the history of like apartheid South Africa and things like that, it should really, really interest me and get me through reading the book, but it just, even that wasn't a pull enough for me. And as you guys know, historian, you would think. And like Black civil rights is something I find really, really interesting. I loved studying African American civil rights in sixth form, and I just had no interest in picking it up. I'm really sad to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same for me. Like I said, I thought it had a lot of potential, and I think, I don't know, I think it could have kept a lot of the key points that were already there, but just, I don't know, not necessarily the transitions, but like if we think back to, was it Mexican Gothic? I think we said like the first third was quite slow, but then it really starts to pick up. Like it could have been like that, quite slow beginning, or but it kind of just carried on that same sort of level of almost. I don't really know how else to describe it.
I had forgotten actually about all of the, because I honestly did read this in July, so I have forgotten about it, and I've read so many since, but I had forgotten, Janet, about all of Hortensia's backstory with her husband, and we haven't got the spoilers barrier on. Are we spoilering?
Go ahead, do it.
Not that it matters to these two.
Wait, hang on. I forgot I was in charge. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All the backstory about Hortensia's husband and the affair, and her like watching him and like stalking him and watching them together, and I'd forgotten all about that. And her like the building of her. I think it's quite interesting because, oh my god, I hate that word. Because we learn about the affair and stuff, but we also learn about the growth of her business. We kind of get the impression that Hortensia is a very, very successful name in the fashion industry. Isn't that right? Is that right?
Yeah.
But you don't really get a great deal of knowledge about it. It all seems to be overshadowed by the fact that her husband had this affair and like ruined their everything. So that's, that was something that like you, Janet, I enjoyed those bits more. Every time we went back in time, we're learning a little bit more about the affair and about when she would sit in the car waiting for them to show up and just to prove herself right, and the deterioration of their relationship and stuff. You're like, oh, that was really interesting. And then you kind of go back to her and Marion. You're like, I don't care about Marion in your painting. The only thing I did feel for Marion, though,
there was just a version of it where it was just that, because I would read that.
Yeah,
that's what I was about to say.
No, you carry on.
Sorry. I was going to say, it didn't necessarily need the dual narrative. Like, I get why it was there for the whole neighbor thing, get both sides. But actually, if it was just about Hortensia, I think it would have been 10 times more interesting in a lot of ways. Like just more time to spend on her, like jump back and forwards in time or something like that. That would be
Kind of like
yeah.
whatever we read, Transcendent Kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that. That would be good. I did. The only thing I did feel for Marion at one point with the theme of her children and the fact that they literally don't care about her. That I did find that quite sad. I was like, why are you being so mean to your mom? And that I didn't like that bit. I did feel for her there. I was a bit like that. I can't imagine how horrendous that must feel for her. So
yeah.
that was one
exactly
thing I didn't know.
I don't think we see as much of Marion's backstory. I remember there are parts like her parents saying certain comments and like, you know, sort of racist ideas coming in from when she was very young and things like that. But I don't really remember much about her as a mother, like when her kids were young. Like I remember bits, but like, you know, part of me wonders like maybe there was something that she did that made it so distant from her now, but we didn't see that. So I don't know if that's what happened. Yeah, exactly. Whereas like with Hortensia, I think that's why I enjoyed her so much more, is because we see a lot more of that sort of how she is now.
The only things I know about it is like Marion designed this house for someone, but she's like, I made it my perfect house and now I want it forever, and how dare they sell it to someone else without telling me the person who designed the house. It's like, stop it, just make yourself a new house.
Yeah.
You design houses, design yourself a new better house. And also just like one moment, I can't remember how early it is in the book, but she's talking about her maid, the fact she doesn't want her maid's child to come round, because like she's fine with people of color, she just doesn't want this child to play with her children. She doesn't want this black child around her kids. He's like, he's not allowed near my kids, my white kids.
It's performative. What's the word? Performative activism, isn't it? It's just like doing it to be seen doing it, not really caring about why you're like being like offering people equality and things like that. It's very much doing it to be seen and not really.
To be honest, having this brief discussion about it, I'm realizing more and more that the stories are they're intertwined, because both of their businesses and their careers and self-successes are overshadowed by men, because she has to sell her half of the business, doesn't she, to the other guy, and he wants to buy her out of the architecture company, but she wants to stay doing it, but she's had children. I don't think she wanted kids, did she? Is that the point? She didn't want children.
I feel like she did, but I think she loved her business and her work, and she knew that she was good and she wanted to be the best. So I think it was with that contrast.
And she tried to do both, didn't she? She tried to keep the family thing and the career, but her partner was like, I think you should bow out. So she did. It's quite interesting, actually. Didn't thought of that. The fact that both Hortensia's wheeled out of her career successes because of her cheating husband, and Marion has to have a family and gets cheated out of it by a man. Girls.
We love it. Love men. So great.
Very
so great.
Interesting thought.
Well,
I feel like, is that all we have to comment on that?
I think we've covered that. I don't know I think Mariette finished it, and I don't think she was massively enamored with it either.
Yeah, she said it didn't go anywhere like she thought it was going to go, and it was nothing expected it to
Did
be.
she think it would be a suburban thriller as well?
I think so.
Because there is the woman next door that is a sort of like slightly trashy thrillery novel. And I was like, oh, is it that one? No, different author. Let's see if I can find the other one on an audiobook, because that'll help me read. There is no audiobook of it. No. I think I found one audiobook of it, but it's like £25 from this like audiobook provider that begins with a K, I think. And I'd already used that one once, so I couldn't get a free credit.
Tragic. But yeah.
The only ones I found were text to speak, so they were useless.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm glad I've read it, but yeah, maybe it was just like wrong book, wrong time sort of thing. I don't know. But it was, yeah. It is what it is.
Right. While you introduce the next one, I'm going to go turn the oven off, otherwise my jacket potato will burn.
No,
None of that.
The potato.
I was gonna say we're out of the spoiler zone for now, so
But yeah. Bear with.
I'm intrigued to
Okay.
see what people's ratings are of this because I'm loving it.
I thought you would. I'll introduce it since it's my pick, but you've got it right there. Thank you for showing it.
It is
So
literally
nicely.
like my
I need to
dream
find
book,
where I
so.
put it.
So it is the book that we have in the group chat been calling Cobb, which I love. City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, which has been on my TBR for about 5 years.
Same.
It is a fantasy set in Cairo in what, the 18th? Is it 18th? 17th? I can't remember which century it is.
Oh, 18th century. Yeah. 17th.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
keep thinking it's 1900s for some reason, but no, 17th.
Yeah. And yeah, we follow, well, it's again dual narrative. I do actually have some comments.
I think it's a
not
multi-narrative.
really, but, huh? Well, we see like two like the chapters are either Nari or Ali.
I thought we spent time with another character as well. I might
Not
just
yet.
be insane.
I haven't yet.
I don't remember that.
I'm sure there's
but
one
maybe
like right at the
it's
end.
not in.
What?
Is there a
Okay,
different
yeah.
perspective?
Yeah, I think. Is there?
I thought it was just Ali and Nari.
Yeah, I think it is.
I'm sure there's one
Stallion.
right at the end because like he's definitely not
Oh,
there for this
oh.
chapter, and neither is she.
I've literally got my copy there. You can't see it from where you are, but it's here. I can't. You I don't.
I'm
need
just
it.
seeing Ali and Nari on my flip through, so
I think there's like an epilogue, isn't there? There's something
Yeah.
like right at the end, but I don't
This
know.
is epilogue,
Maybe it's
but
in that bit, which like I can't remember.
Anyway,
Anyway,
Janet, your thoughts?
it's so it was my pick, but it was like the spinny wheel of death pick.
They
That's
both
how I-
were actually.
So was this one. So was Mariette's, to be fair.
Yeah, we were what did we call them? The
The randomizer.
I
pull
prefer
up by
spinning
someone
wheel
else's
of
point of
death.
view.
That's how it felt.
It's more
Spinny wheel of
exciting,
death.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like something you would get in this book, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not called that, but yeah. So yeah, it was my pick for the randomizer, and it was chosen for August. And I've heard a lot of good things about this, which is part of the reason why I chose it. And I just thought, if I put it in for the book club, then at least if it gets chosen, I'll read it finally. And I think I rated it 4 stars overall. The main reason I didn't give it 5 was because I thought it was too long, and it could have been way shorter. It could have focused on certain points in more detail, and then just rather than being a trilogy, maybe being like a series or something like that. That doesn't necessarily take away from what did happen. I think a lot of the events were relevant to the story, but yeah, it was what, 500 and something pages. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Like 5 set pieces.
Yeah.
Glossary at the back. Okay, that's going to help.
There's a glossary in the back. Read it.
Yeah.
I got through the whole thing before realizing that.
Yeah, I remember seeing your message and I was like, I've got this far in, I don't need it. I'll carry on. Yeah, I really liked the sort of Middle Eastern setting. I feel like in fantasy, I was going to say that's something we don't see that often, but I have read other books that are set, one other fantasy book that was set kind of Middle Eastern inspired setting with Muslim characters.
Here, We Hunt the Flame.
No, it was called The Bloodprint, which I thought had potential, but didn't love it. It just kind of annoyed me. But this one was great. So we're talking about this one, which is good. Yeah, I think generally fantasy, you think of like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, like white wizards and, little goblins and things like that. So it was nice having a bit of a different take. I mean, it's a lot of the same tropes and elements and things that you see in fantasy, but just like different. It was just nice having a different set of characters and a different like setting, I think. For me anyway, I love reading fantasy, but I'm not constantly reading fantasy, if that makes sense. I like mixing up the genres. So this was quite refreshing in a lot of ways. I liked reading about like Muslim characters within this magical world and how those sorts of like parts of religion kind of come into the magic system, in certain ways. I liked, although I can't remember the names of the certain tribes and where they're meant to be like from around the world. I quite liked the description of the, I don't know, just how they all link together and things like that. And I have actually ordered the second book, so I'm probably going to read it at some point. I did get it on Depop, and I'm still waiting for it to be shipped, but it is what it is. But yeah. Huh?
I will join you on that read.
Cool.
Paint for me the plot. I can't go in for another big book with tiny letters.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll choose it as a future book club pick just because it took so long to read.
Please don't.
Yeah. I mean, I've already chosen my picks for next year, which you can't actually. Oh no, they're there, but you can't see them. They're really far away. Anyway, they're not. I could. I will. Maybe at the end. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling now, but I really enjoyed it. I think there was a lot of good things. I think it's quite obviously setting up for the rest of the trilogy. That's the other thing I was going to say. It's very much like a first book kind of book, if that makes sense. But yeah, I thought I had a lot of good things about it. It was just a bit too long for my liking. But yeah, otherwise, that is all I have to say. Who wants to go next? Say again, clockwise?
Clockwise, yeah.
Okay.
Well, currently I am sitting at about 60% of the way through, and I am freaking loving it. I love fantasy, as anyone knows. And like Janet said, it's really, really refreshing to see a Middle Eastern inspired fantasy world rather than the westernized that we see a lot. And like Janet said, we are seeing a lot of tropes. Like I'm seeing the human girl, fae, come together, have like relationship thing. I'm seeing that trope definitely coming, or maybe like being hinted at. I don't know whether that's going to come to fruition, knowing how a lot of authors try and throw tropes on their heads nowadays. I don't know whether that's going to be a thing, but I'm definitely seeing a lot of things that you see in like fae fantasies and things like that, like Akatar and Cruel Prince and things like that. There's a lot of tropes that I love. There are a lot of aspects of this that I am just loving. I'm loving, like I said, the world building, the magic system, and the history side of it. But I love the characters as well. I love the grumpy sunshine trope. That is one of my favorite tropes. And to get it within the first 2 chapters, I was just like, this is going to be a book I like. And I loved, like, I think the beginning, like you say, it could definitely be split down into more books. It doesn't need to be 500 pages with small print. There is definitely 2 books worth of stuff here in this first book, but I am really enjoying it. It's currently sitting at a 4, push into a 4.5. It could push into 5 stars. We know I'm very liberal with 5 stars. If I just get that vibe, if I get the vibes, the feels, then it will be a star. But currently it's sitting at 4.5. So
without spoiling anything, I was sitting at a 3 or 4 stars for most of it. I was kind of like, we'll see how it ends, and the ending bumped it up for me. So we'll see.
Awesome. So it could be, and then it's going to bump it up to 4.5 then.
Yeah.
Awesome. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Coming off the back of reading the second book in the Bone season, I was ready for a high fantasy. The Mime Order wrecked me, dude. The Mime Order wrecked me.
I really need to reread them because, I've said why I need to reread them to you, but it's been a while.
Did you say mime order as in like mimes?
No.
The Mime Order.
So
yeah, but not like
mimes. Okay, I got it.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm looking forward to reading it. And now that I'm like on here discussing, I'm not going to worry about blitzing through it at 2 times speed. I'm going to read it at a leisurely pace. Really because there's so much court politics going on already. I'm just like, is this Prayer of the Orange Tree all of a sudden?
Imagine if that was my pick for August. 800 pages.
800 pages in small font.
I'm going to start putting page limits on.
So,
I'm just reading the last couple of sentences again. I've forgotten what.
Bear with. We need like elevator music.
I'm good. Thank you. I gave it 3 stars. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I've just moved my mic down because otherwise I'm breathing to it and it sounds horrendous. Just really quickly, the third point of view is the epilogue, Nori.
Mhm.
So it's
That's what I was thinking, but I couldn't
Sorry,
remember if it definitely was or yeah.
I was gonna say, let's
There
kind of-
was definitely a something in a somewhere.
Yeah.
There was a
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah, my third point of view, my 3 stars. One of the things I was a bit annoyed about, annoyed is not the right word at all, it's just something I noticed, is it's making out that it's set in Cairo and it's just not. It's set in
Yeah.
Cairo for about 5 seconds and then Cairo's like virtually never mentioned again.
Mhm.
But I know it does say it's like obviously in Cairo this is the reality, but then this lives on the long side of it. So maybe it's just because she leaves Cairo. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, for me, I do like a magical book. I do love the whole magic, fae and like fae, fairy, magic, djinn. I just love that. But fantasy isn't my go-to genre. So for me to read this with all the different tribes and the different parts of the city and the different types of law, I was like, I just am lost. I don't know. And then because it's so important to certain aspects of the book, when like big characters are talking about it, which is a plot, like a twist in the plot or like an important part of the plot, I'm like, I don't understand what you're talking about. So I didn't follow that part of the plot, if that makes sense. And I'm like, that's really important because it's important to the theme of the story and the laws of the city. And I'm like, I've forgotten who these laws relate to, and I've forgotten who are the good guys, and I've forgotten who are the bad guys, and I've forgotten who we like, and I've forgotten who we don't like. So had I realized there was a glossary at the back before I finished it, I might have found it a little easier.
Yeah.
Having said that, reading the glossary didn't make much difference. So I don't know, maybe not.
Oh, we've lost her.
No.
I think on the topic of
Sorry.
glossary, I'm gonna read through that and just try and work out a little bit more. It is kind of like Priory, isn't it, Janet? There's so much going on.
Yeah, definitely. She back.
She back.
My internet just cut out.
Oh, no, it is.
Oh,
Well, it's not even 9 o'clock, though.
Look, Jess, I was like, it must be 9 o'clock. And I was like, no. It's not. My internet cuts out at 9 o'clock every night, and I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
Constantly, Jess and I are on FaceTime, and then I just cut off.
Yeah.
We're like, it's 9 o'clock. Sorry, guys. What did I say before I left?
You were saying about the
You read
glossary.
the glossary and it didn't help.
So yeah, I think I liked it and I didn't like it. I didn't want to read it. So, but then when I was reading it, I didn't hate it. You know, I quite got into the story. So it's one of those ones that I didn't want to pick it up because it wasn't like me. But when I was reading it, I didn't hate it. So I really liked Dara. I think he was probably my favorite character. The relationship between him and Nari, I'm not going to expand on because obviously Jess hasn't finished it. But it was a vibe and I was there for it. But I didn't like Ali at all. I thought he was annoying.
Interesting. I quite liked Ali.
Did you?
So I'm just like, and I didn't hate Dara, but he wasn't my favorite either. He was just kind of, there. I was like,
okay.
I don't know.
But we'll go into that.
Yeah, I won't go into it.
So 3 stars just because I think I agree with you. It was just too long. I was like, this could have been 200 pages shorter.
Yeah.
And she tried to get, I mean, her mind, my goodness me. Who is it? S.A. Chakraborty. Her head, I don't know where she got some of these ideas from. And I was like, whoa. Because it is jam packed with stuff, like different breeds of animal, different type of people, different everything. And she's gone into a lot of depth about it, and I'm like, well, fair play if you've managed to get all that out on paper, and it does make sense. It's good. But for me, for someone that's not maybe attuned to that kind of fantasy genre with the different laws and the different types of people, blah 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 blah, it's quite complicated for me to follow it because I just get confused, and I'm like, I can't remember what. And because as well, it's magical names. It's not like Fred, Linda, and Jean. And they live in Bristol, Birmingham, and Dorset. It's like, yeah, it's complicated names and stuff as well. Say again.
I bet Fred lives in Dorset.
I'm sure Fred lives in Dorset. I mean,
Sounds like
why
a
wouldn't
Dorset guy.
he?
I mean, it's the best county. What can we say?
Exactly. So I think for me, you know, it's they're all very convoluted ways of saying things and stuff like that. So I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite. And I wouldn't read the next two, but I would be interested to know what happens because there are certain things I want to happen.
Mhm.
Mm.
And I actually would like to know how it ends, but I
Mhm.
don't know if I'd go out of my way to read them. So
That's fair.
yeah, it wasn't a bad book at all, but I just think too long,
Mhm.
and a little bit too wordy in the whole lore sense.
Yeah, that's fair.
So 3 stars for Zoe.
Yeah. My turn, even though it doesn't feel like it because we move places on the screen.
I know, it really freaked me out. I was like, oh no.
No. I gave it 4 stars, mainly because I love the setting. I love the lore. It was a lot, but the thing that kept it from a 5 stars for me is because of all the politics and ancient grudges. It physically stressed me out. And I put in my Goodreads review that I want to just yell at everyone, lock them all in a room so they can have a reasonable discussion with a mediator. And I would be that mediator, even though I might be distracted by Alizade because I like Alizade. I feel like he's my character in this. Like, I didn't quite gravitate towards any of them. Dara, I found I think I might have to wait to the spoiler zone to explain how I feel about
That's
him.
fair. That's
Potentially. I was just going to say we don't really see why, but there's something about him that I didn't trust, and I still feel like
I don't trust anybody.
yeah, just knowing what I know, I'm still like
Still don't trust him. Don't
yeah.
really like him. Don't like the fact he's like thousands and hundreds of millions of years old or whatever, and she's 18 or
Yeah.
something.
She's 20.
Like, yeah.
Something like that.
She's 20. Okay, fine. She's not a teenager, so everything's
It's legal.
it's like those kind of age gaps. I'm always like, no. Particularly when it's older male, younger female. Even though at the moment I'm completely obsessed with Beetlejuice the musical, but that's a whole nother thing for a different day. But all like the politics and ancient grudges, them going, it's like, well, we can do this because they did that. It's like, did they do that, or did they do that?
Mm.
Not them.
Yeah, I know what you mean actually. Yeah.
I think the problem is like with the djinn being so long lived, you're just like, wait, did you personally do this or did your ancestors do it? Because now I'm confused.
But like,
yeah,
the fact is just so political. I'm reading to get away from politics. I don't want to know what's going on in the world. This is escapism. Why am I?
to be
I have
honest,
to care what's going on in this world as well.
all the politics going on in this world is probably better than what's going on in our world, in our country.
Yeah, they don't have a competition to see who will last longer, a lettuce or a prime minister.
Mm.
The lettuce won.
Yes.
Just before we get into a political debate,
Yeah.
I have actually read the synopsis on Goodreads for the next 2 books, so I actually have answered some of my questions, which I probably shouldn't have done. But I think so for that, the ending is kind of left a little bit. Ooh.
Yeah.
But having read the synopsis of the other 2, I was kind of like, okay, well, my hypotheses were right. But also, I forgot what I was going to say. There was another point. Oh, the age thing with Dara. I get where you're coming from because he's like thousands and thousands of years old.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me at all because I kind of just viewed him as like an eternal being without an age.
Mm.
Does that make sense? Because
Yeah.
I think his visually he's just a young guy, isn't he? But because I didn't look at it as like an old perv, I was like, he's just he's just always there. He's just kind of a main, kind of like a sim, you know, like early doors sims before the ages. He just always stays his age, you know.
But
that's how I viewed
think
it.
For me, I've been on the internet far too long, and it's the like mental ages, and just the fact that he's experienced like so much more of absolutely everything in the world than she does, he can like color her opinion on absolutely everything, because she's only got a very small pool of what she knows as life. And like that, I've just been on the internet. I watch a lot of like I survived this person type thing. It's like I go through a lot of cult content. I go through a lot of like exploitation of like child actor content. So it's like whenever there's a relationship where it's like, this is my one person in the world and they are so much more knowledgeable and worldly than I am, and I follow most of the things they say because I physically do not know what's going on. I don't know where I am. I cannot leave this person because if I do, I will die in a desert or be murdered. It's just sort of, that's something that my brain just goes, and no. Which is why I'm more team Alizade.
Fair enough.
And
Yeah, I feel like
team therapy for everyone.
I think, yeah, the reason I liked Ali is because I could see there was room for character development, which we always love. Whereas with Dara, obviously he's not like, we don't get his perspective. So maybe that's why we don't see it as much. But yeah, part of me was a bit like, I can see like in like the second or third books, for example, I can see Ali becoming like starting off as this really annoying little brat of a prince and then actually developing into quite a decent guy. Whereas I can see Dara just kind of like staying the same and he's not really got room for growth almost. Not to say he's a bad guy, but that's just the impression.
Experience points have been filled.
I get with Ali, I get very strong Kale vibes from Throne of Glass.
Yeah, maybe that's why I like him. We all know how much I love Kale. Oh my god.
I love that bean. I'm still crushed she didn't give us a queer romance, but that's beside the point. Because that bromance, man.
Top tier.
But yeah, I get very strong Kale vibes. And that I think that Ali will get a very strong redemption arc. I hope he does. Because I think he definitely has the potential for a Tower of Dawn-esque character growth.
I think one of the reasons maybe I liked Dara was because he's kind of got that dark, brooding kind of crush guy, you know, kind of crush on him a little bit because he's dark and broody and he's really protective of Nari, and you're like, oh.
He's also sassy as anything.
He's
and
so sassy. And like they're kind of, I mean, obviously up to Jess's point, it doesn't matter what I say because it's obvious, like their relationship is so chaotic to begin with. And then I just think, I think I like Dara so much because he's that dark brooding. You kind of crush on him a little bit because he's so protective of his gal. Yeah, but you know, he's so mysterious as well.
Yeah, his first appearance when he just like appears for her and is just yelling at Hyzor as well, and I'm just like, I'm going to love this man so much. I know it. I'm gonna fall hard for him, and it's just the fact that he's just shouting in the middle of the graveyard, and it's just like, I swear to God. And he's so cold and so like unreadable to her at the start, and you just know he's going to soften up, and he's got a heart of gold underneath it. But I'm intrigued to see what happens in the last like third of this book, because obviously where I'm at, he's off on his own separate quest, and we don't see his POV. So, what's our boy up to?
Yeah.
For me, like Alizade, for me, Alizade is like that. He's very sort of morally, like quite morally righteous. Might be like might not always have the correct things, but he's very sort of like morally righteous. But he's also like quite learned. But he's very book smart and sort of like very much like, I have all the information. He just doesn't know how to put it in practice. And like that's what I like. So I like a sort of like intellectual individual.
Yeah.
We're all just showing our dating preferences right now.
Awkward.
Me, a highly intellectual lady pirate who needs someone to go and get like coffees. I will be a go and fetch person for
also
a lady.
Nori, this is unrelated, but I love how you're matching Freddie Mercury behind you with your yellow jumper.
Thank you.
I just noticed that.
So
Oh, Freddie.
I do
Good
love that.
save. Yeah.
I want to get a David Bowie as well to join him.
Oh, yeah.
I do
Good
love
choice. Good choice. My next question was about the dual narration, like dual character sort of thing. I felt like, although I liked it in parts, also added to the book being longer. So I don't know. Do you feel like it was necessary to have two like characters at the same time? You know.
I think it could have been interesting to have like the first book just be Nari's perspective, and then switch to Alizade in the next book. Like have
Yeah.
Nari as like again split this into two. Have Nari and her journey just to Devabad, and then when they're in Devabad, have it from Ali's point of view. And I think that could have been really,
Because
really
something I was thinking was to do like A Thousand Splendid Suns and have part one of Nari on her journey, part two you can then split perhaps, because I feel like if you see this much of Nari in one book and you're still carrying on in that same book, you probably want to carry on listening to what she has to say. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I like both, and I feel like they both add to the story, but I was just it was something I thought about when I was reading. I was like, do we really need to see both aspects? Like we could have just had Nari throughout. I don't know.
That was also a trope that I don't like, which is we're in an action sequence with Nari and then it's going back to Alizade in the palace being a bitch, and I'm just like, no! He's just whining.
I completely disagree with you guys. I think it's extremely necessary that we have both perspectives, because it gives both sides of this political conflict. And not like both sides in one side's bad, one side's good. They both have their points and their reasons, and seeing it from two very reasonable, normal individuals sort of going, yeah, we believe this, we believe that. That's but not having it be like, we believe this because we're evil and we want to control everything. It's like, no, they all have their reasons, but being able to see it from both sides with a reasonable protagonist, I think was very necessary for this. Otherwise, we would have gotten into, like, if it was just Nari, we would have gotten into book 2. And if Alizade had come in then, we would go, who's this? He's on the bad guy team. I don't want to listen to him. But having, like, gone through with Alizade as well, at the same time, it gives both perspectives.
Yeah, and I enjoyed his perspectives a lot as well. And, like, I liked it when I was, I liked both. I didn't have one preference necessarily. But yeah, it was something I thought about. I was like, this would be an interesting question to put to the group. Let's see what they say. But yeah.
The dual narratives, I remember reading it and either saying out loud or saying to whoever I was with or thinking it. Ali and Nari are going to have to meet at some point, because, they're both narratives were so separate from each other. At one point I was like, are these just two stories we're just living? Is there actually going to be any connection between the two characters at any point? I couldn't identify a common theme or thread between them that would link them together. Where are you at, Jess?
So she's just woken up after being like, she got drunk.
So they've met, haven't they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's met his sister.
Oh, I know where you are.
So yeah.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? So prior to that, both narratives were happening, and I was like, where is the relationship here for these two to eventually meet? I was like, are they going to? Also, I said it in my head as Dave Bad.
Yeah.
I said David Bad.
I think I was wrong.
I think on the audiobooks it pronounced Dagobah.
Yeah.
So we're all wrong.
I think it's just because of other booktubers I've heard saying David Bad. So I think that's how I got it in my head before I started reading it. But
yeah. I think that I said Dave Bad because that was just in my head, and then once in your head you can't change it. I think I didn't really like Ali as a character. I thought he was a bit of a wet wipe. And how
dare you speak about my boy that way?
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought he was
choose your words wisely.
No, go ahead. It's like, I am no.
I felt he was a little lacking in the authoritative assertiveness.
He has no balls. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine. And
Well,
I
wasn't
just
gonna say it.
I don't know. I thought his relationship with his dad is so fractured. His dad scares me a little bit.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
And his brother, again, the whole dark, broody, mysterious good guy, I was a bit like, I kind
I
of
don't
like you, and I'm not sure that I should because I couldn't work him out.
I need Jess to reach a certain point in this book.
I think we all need Jess to read to a certain point.
So let's all
Right.
just let Jess finish the book and then we'll come back.
We'll regroup in a week.
Regroup in a week.
I mean, I'm happy to do that. So
Well,
Maybe
I
just need your reaction to one point in the book.
Can someone text me what happens at the end? Because I've forgotten.
not in the private chat.
The thing we're referencing now. I think Nari's on it.
Can you just text
can't
me the final
remember
bit?
You will get some random, like, this person who's the son of this person. I don't know any of their names.
Do it
That's
individually.
okay.
Do it privately, not in the group chat.
No, we wouldn't.
I'm scrolling down to find them. There you are.
I mean, I'm really,
I
really
was gonna
excited
say something and I've forgotten what it was now.
because, like I said at the start of this, I literally do not trust anybody.
No, it's a wise move.
A book that is so full of court politics and games and mind trickery and, like you say, no clear good guy or bad guy. Like, I'm really, really intrigued because so often these things are so black and white. Like even in Priory of the Orange Tree, the ultimate villain is very black and white, but you have these two sides of the conflict as well. But they come together to unite against an enemy, and it again, it's a whole religion based argument of who's in the right, who's in the wrong, historically who is right, and
Wars against religion.
yeah, basically it's it's that sort of thing. So I'm really, really intrigued to see where this goes. I definitely will be reading the rest of the series because I love it. But yeah, literally, I don't trust anybody. I didn't trust Dara, but I was like, I want to trust you.
Oh yeah.
Stuff is coming out about him, and I'm just like, see, I was right not to trust you. But
yeah.
I don't trust the king as far as I can throw him. I don't trust the Grand Wazir. I do not trust him.
It's one of those,
Oh, Grand Visit, that's the word I was looking for.
Oh, yeah.
I don't.
And I think there's a lot of characters who, like, you've probably found already just with like Ali's.
Thank you.
You know, he's trying to help the what do they call them?
The Tanzim.
Yeah.
The Shafi.
There's a lot of people who are just like almost acting like double agents in a way, like, you know, like Ali,
Double,
for
triple,
example.
quadruple agents.
Yeah. So it is like you don't know who to trust because he's like doing things on the side and he's not telling his family that he's helping this group who they kind of push to the side. And yeah, so it's very clever, I think, how it all develops in that way.
It's very realistic in that sort of sense, in that court politics are very cutthroat and allegiances shift constantly. So, like you said at the start, her world building is phenomenal, and like the thought that's gone into this, and like on the front of this, Laini Taylor's blurbed it, and for me, Laini Taylor is like one of the queens of complex world building and magic systems and history building, because Daughter of Smoke and Bone is so complex. It's kind of like a smaller Priory in that there is so much going on, and again, it's not necessarily all of the time a very clear cut villain hero. Everybody has their reasons on either side.
Yeah, I suppose my next question leads on from that. I've just thought of it now, but it kind of links to something I wrote as a note rather than a question. Was obviously we start off in Cairo, and that's kind of like it's our world, but not really. And there's links to the human world, but you know we don't really see that much of it, you know, other than right at the beginning. But do you think? I don't know. Why do you think Cairo is even that? Why do you think it was? Why is it on Earth? Why is it not on another like planet almost? You know, do you know what I mean? Like a different Earth. You know, like if you look at Throne of Glass or whatever, you know, it's close enough and there's like, you know, similarities to what we are familiar with, but it's not where we are. Like, why do you think that is relevant? I don't know.
I think it definitely grounds it almost because you have these stories coming out of the East of Jinn and how it's even shaped like Western stories. So obviously Jinn is genies basically, and then you have like Arabian Nights and all these stories that have come out and then shaped Western stories as well. So it's bopping in the bottom there.
I've got Aladdin in my head.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolute banger.
And I'm seeing little snippets of that in Dara's backstory already. When he's enslaved and things like that. But yeah, I think it's nice to see it set in like our world, but not like this is what's happening. Don't get us copyright struck.
We can have 10 seconds. It's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like that it was included. Like, even though it's the tiniest little bit, it kind of grounds it a little bit. And it's not just this mystical world and this mystical setting. It gives a sense of reality to a fantasy world. I think.
I talked more about Ali's like mother's side of the family, because they're like based in Egypt and things. Because
I think that's what we're going to find out next.
And things. It's like that's the half I want to know more about, which I think you get more in the sequel. But I can't read so many words. I've awkwardly fallen out of love with sort of very complex fantasy for some reason. I've been trying to get like into things with new magical systems, but my brain's just gone no.
Fair enough.
I sort of just want to know like about the race of the Jinn who live in Egypt, like their things, because they've got like the connection to water, which everyone else is like, ugh, that makes them heretics or something. It's like they live in the Nile. Because they call them they call them crocodiles as a slur.
They don't live in denial.
No, they live in denial.
I had to. I'm sorry. It's not even a good dad joke.
Sorry, that just made me think of a joke. It's like friend stands in an Egyptian river. It's like, I'm in the Amazon. It's like, you're not in the Amazon. You're in denial.
Oh my god, I love it.
Anyway, what was your question, Janet, about Cairo being the fact that it was a real place?
Yeah, why it was sort of chosen. You know, like there are other fantasies where it's like a completely different world. So why is that human element kind of? What do you think is the relevance of it? I guess. Or
Nori's got a biting point, so I'm let them go first. Yeah.
Because it originally set in Cairo. And Alizade's sort of mother's family are from sort of the area, and Cairo's in Egypt, if I remember my geography correctly.
You are remembering correctly.
It could be another link back. It all connects together.
Yeah. Yeah, when you were saying that just now, I was like, oh yeah, they are from Egypt. Oh yeah.
So it could link back to something with that. I now sort of want to read the rest, but I technically didn't read this one. I listened to it on audiobook and I have no more credits. I can't afford credits anymore.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I guess it's just a case of finding out in the next books.
Tell me.
It's infuriating they don't have a list of the tribes in the glossary at the back.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Or like a character list.
Yeah,
Cairo grounded it massively, I think.
Yeah.
I think it gave me an atmosphere, definitely. I think maybe because we can relate to Cairo. I mean, I've never been to Cairo, but you know, you kind of know the vibe. So maybe that, you know, it sets it, and it also maybe she wanted to really bring it into the real world. She wanted to really make us believe it. So by setting the original story and making Nori from Cairo, it brings it into reality a little more. Jess, can you just not listen for a second, because I can't remember what I'm about to say is where it is.
Mute.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Scott Doggery sucks. No, she can't hear us. Okay. Nori's mum, we're thinking she's still alive, aren't we?
Yeah.
And she's so the Ifrit, is that what they're called?
Ifrit.
They're actually not.
Spoilers going on.
Oh.
Okay.
They're not actually the baddies, are they? I think we're indicating that they're actually probably not as bad as they make out to be.
Yeah, I think they're more like they're seen as a threat, which is why they're kind of the bad guys.
and we're thinking that they've got directions or instructions or orders from Nari's mum to come and find her. Is that what we're thinking?
I mean, I think well, the impression I got is that we're meant to think that they're lying, but actually maybe they're not.
Probably not.
Who knows?
That's the impression I've got from it.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if that's. I couldn't remember when because something's mentioned about her mum in the last part of the book, and I couldn't remember if Jessica got there or not.
I think it's definitely confirmed that she's still alive.
Yeah,
it's definitely alluded to. Like no one actually knows, so it's like a possibility, and everyone's like, "Oh." But actually, my next question is gonna be. I'm not gonna ask it yet, but it was about the king thinking Nari's like. Do you remember when she first arrives and sees the king? And
yeah, thinks that she's because I think whether the king's her dad,
or whether that was all just
no. The king's definitely like because I think Manisa was like, look, it was just a friend. I get the feeling that Manisa was probably not like, I'm not dating anyone that's not my like race or something. I get that sort of vibe. Might be completely wrong. She might have fallen in love with a human and run off and done. That's why Nari looks human. But I don't think she wanted to date him, even though he was like absolutely all over her.
Yeah, maybe. I
hadn't
thought of that.
There was you just messaged me about Nori, the guy at the end.
Oh yeah.
So he's a secret, isn't he? The fact that he's actually a magical being too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
I didn't realise that they'd kidnapped even from him. Did I? Maybe I did know that. Is it?
I might be mistaken. It's been a while since I read it, but I think that they have kept it a secret from him as well.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That, like tattoo on his
shoulder, isn't it?
Yeah,
because it's been for a long time.
Yeah,
I don't know when he's young. Yeah,
because like if they remove that marking, then he'll get like all his powers and da 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 da, and but it will be revealed that he's like this. But so they had to like keep it. Like it's like but then they showed the audience, made sure like the reader knows like he's definitely like this. Which
and he's also with, or he wants to be with the eldest brother, doesn't he? Or they both want to be together.
Just
definitely
best thing. But also the fact that he's probably related to Nari in some way, and they're like, let's get them together. It's like, I'm sorry.
So Nari's a magical healing being that's quite rare, isn't she?
Yeah, she's the last.
She's the last of that tribe.
Yeah.
But we're now thinking that this guy's the son. I've forgotten his name. Does it begin with a J?
Wait, I didn't get that at all.
Or is that that's a member of BTS.
The guy, the guy is like Jahid or something. Is it Jahid?
It begins with a J.
I think it's Jahid.
Or Jashid or something like that.
Something like that. The best friend, the one that is like Manzim's bestie.
Really, loyal and so on.
Loyal. We're now thinking that he's one of Nari's tribe, and it's been kept hidden forever because otherwise he'll be killed.
Is that the Vizier? Because I definitely think the Vizier is his dad and Manisa is his mum.
Oh, so you think that Jahid and Nari are brother and sister?
Yeah. Or in some way related,
like a Star Wars moment.
Going, we'll just marry those two together is weird.
Okay.
And I once read a whole series of a manga about vampires where there's two pure blood vampires, but they're siblings, but they have to marry each other because they can only marry pure blood vampires, and their parents are also siblings, and it's real weird.
Did you just make that up, or did you say you read something?
Oh, it's a manga I read ages ago.
Oh, fine. Okay.
In my brain a few days ago. And I was like, why did I read and love this so much? Why did I root for this couple who are siblings? What's wrong with me?
Okay, that's answered my question. Thanks. Jess can come back now.
Okay. Spoiler free. I don't know if.
How do we get Jess back? Jess?
I think I can unmute.
Come back. Oh, that worked. No way did that work.
I was scrolling, so I kind of had it in my periphery, and then I was just like,
scrolling.
yeah,
we're done.
I feel like that chat went on a little bit longer than, well,
I intended to. I'm
went on
so
Yeah.
sorry.
I went
Literally,
off on
I've
a
been messaging
vampire
friends, though.
tangent.
yeah, we started talking about vampire manga, so
Really
I
well
say
off
we.
topic.
Harry.
If anyone wants to know what that manga is, it's Vampire Knights with a K.
Ah, I see. Yeah.
Very
I think
good.
I read the first 10 when I was like 15, and I only remembered it a couple like weeks ago, and now I'm like, what is wrong with me?
Oh, dear.
Well, I think we're gonna go into that tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
dark kind of manga.
Well,
Not
it's not
like
even dark. It was like a sort of like vampire romance manga.
Hmm.
That's
It sounds
that
great.
was how it is. It's not even like dark creepy.
I love how we went from this to vampire
Dark and
manga.
creepy vampires.
When you finally finished it and you watch it back, you'll understand the link.
Yes, that's true. You will.
Kind of. I mean, I didn't get the link, like, actually related to the book when I read it. So now I'm like, oh,
She does now.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
You
Yeah.
get the link because you passed through my subconscious, and now you're all scarred for life.
What a joyous place it was.
yes. Yeah, I don't really have any other questions as such that don't border on spoilers. So maybe
I can always
we'll.
duck out if you want to continue. I don't mind.
I don't mind. Whatever.
Are we talking about the Mad Woman's Ball or not?
I really want to do that discussion. I'm only a couple of chapters in because I'm taking detailed notes.
Mhm.
So
Maybe we can do it.
I would like to have a proper full-on discussion.
yeah,
about
I
it.
would too. It's a
Yeah.
good one.
Shall we do? Well, we can organize maybe like early November or like in a couple weeks or like.
We could always do two in
that
November.
would
We
be-
could always do
Yeah.
September's on its own and then October's on its own because Little Blackbird isn't too long. So yeah.
I really want a discussion with all 5 of us as well, but I'm not sure how likely that is to happen.
Yeah, we'll organize it somehow.
So yeah, we'll
Fine.
do Mad Woman's Ball another time.
Yeah, that's okay. Because
Yeah.
I think that'll be a really good one to really get into. Definitely the comments that Nora and I made on the chat when we first both finished it. And we were like, soup! And Janet was like, I don't know why you're talking about soup.
Oh, so
I still don't know why you're talking about soup.
at least 4% of my brain is dedicated to soup at all times.
It's an elite meal.
It is an elite, yeah, like I said, an S tier snack.
Yeah. Oh,
Soup.
as if by magic.
I have a dedicated
Oh,
soup
look
bowl,
at that.
spoon and bread plate that lives in my bedroom
Nice.
Fantastic.
for my convenience.
Nice. So we will reconvene
At a
should we say in
later
couple of weeks?
Yeah. Although we'll have to arrange that because I've got quite a few weekends which are seemingly getting busier and busier. So I'll let you know.
I was going to say
yeah.
the 26th is completely out for me of November because that is my Panto's show day.
Lovely.
And I will be
So-
out for that too because I will be there.
Yes.
You have to let me
down.
know because I usually work evenings, but some weekends I just work the morning shift. It's a great time to have a new
Let's
job.
go the 26th.
I'm only saying a new job because these guys haven't seen me. The audience hasn't seen me since I got my new job. I got a new job in July.
Done.
I work in
Lovely.
theatre now.
Woo!
The dream.
Anyway, Janet, you wanted to say something.
But we could. It's not for the live stream.
off stream.
Yeah.
It's not for the public.
It's not appropriate. No, I'm joking. It is
not
absolutely
appropriate for the public.
appropriate. It's just. Yeah, it's not about books. Well, it is, but
Okay, so is there anything else you want to say about City of Brass before you dig yourself into a hole?
no. I think that's
No.
all.
We're all done.
So thanks for joining us on this bit of a mad haul of a
Chaotic live stream.
It is what it is. When is it not like chaotic and so on? Must
That's
be real.
true.
Wait until we discuss the November book.
Mm.
That's my pick, and I
Is it still the same or have you changed it?
it's
I can remember.
Burial Rites by Hannah Kent.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
I changed it because I read it and then went, I need to discuss this with you guys. So I'm forcing you guys to read it, and I'll read it again.
Good to know.
Amazing.
Good talk.
Nice.
All right, well, we'll end there then. So we'll see you in a few weeks when we talk about September's pick. I'm trying to catch up with the months in my head, which is The Mad Woman's Ball by Victoria Maz. I won't say any more because
Jess hasn't finished it yet.
yeah, I was about to say, and it's this and this and this, but that's not for today. So anyway, thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.